Hi guys, welcome, and who dat? I'm Joe, and I'm here to do a review of the Week 6 matchup in the Caesars Superdome between the defending AFC champions, the Cincinnati Bengals, and our beloved, bless you boys, the New Orleans Saints. Sadly, a postmortem for another heartbreaking loss. Saints fall 30-26. This one was hard to swallow, like so many of them are. We lead the game for 58 minutes and we lose. We see some improvement. We go in undermanned once again. I can't fault the game plan on the defensive side. At times, what we were doing worked very well. At times, it looked like it wasn't working at all. Now, I'm not sure if it was play calling or not. It seemed like it was performance. It seemed like the players weren't in position. And, I didn't do a deep film study, but I think this one falls on the players. On the defensive side. On the offensive side, we were so undermanned, not to mention how poorly we've looked in the beginning of the year, that I can't really fault the offense here. The big glaring thing was getting in the red zone 5 times and only coming away with 1 touchdown. But we came away with 4 field goals. And to score 26 points for this offense with our top 3 receivers out, and our backup quarterback, I think we did fine on offense. Controlled the line of scrimmage for the majority of the game on the offensive side. Had time of possession. We won the turnover battle. We limited the penalties. No, we didn't turn the ball over. People are pointing at those field goals and saying you can't win with field goals. Well, you can't win if you don't get in the red zone either, and we got there 5 times. Now, it's a defeatist point of view, but based on the offense that I've seen from this team so far, I'm not running around here every week thinking we're going to put up 40 points and that we're actually even capable of doing that. For this offense, as undermanned as it is, to score 26 points, good job. It was the defense that let us down this week. We allow them to score in every quarter, and we allow them to score touchdowns. They had 3 red zone attempts, and they scored 3 touchdowns. A lot of times the defense looked good, but like I say, the players were out of position at times. I think it was performance based. Let's look at the stats. Those are the facts. Andy Dalton, 17 of 32, 162 yards with a touchdown. He was only sacked once. So, efficiency, not so great. He didn't turn the ball over, and it was as efficient as we've seen Jameis be. But this was Dalton's worst game. His accuracy was pretty off. He was throwing behind receivers and at the feet of receivers, and that was what Dalton had ahead of Winston in my mind. The tendency to be accurate with short and medium passes. Today it looked like Jameis Winston out there for this game. Uh, Still good enough to win the game. Taysom Hill also threw the ball 4 times. He was 2 of 4 for 16 yards. Both of his completions, I believe, went to Callaway, and both of them resulted in first downs. So it worked. The running game, 34 carries overall for 228 yards. We outgained Cincinnati on the ground 228-75. Leading with Alvin Kamara, 19 carries, 99 yards. Mark Ingram had a very good day, 9 carries, 46 yards. Rashid Shaheed, the undrafted rookie, coming up from the practice squad. He gets a wide receiver handoff and goes 44 yards for a touchdown. He looked outstanding on that play. It looked like he was reading where the defenders were and making the moves before the defenders even knew what was happening. And when I saw that play, I thought maybe we should get Shaheed involved. He was open on our first offensive possession. Lined up as a wide receiver, he was wide open, and Dalton threw it in the wrong place. Now, I think because Shaheed's so green, that Shaheed had to have run the wrong route. But he was so wide open that Dalton, I think, could have seen that and adjusted his throw as well. Shaheed was a player that assumed the kick return and punt return duties this week in the place of Deontay Hardy. Taysom Hill also had 5 carries for 39 yards. We averaged almost 7 yards a carry, and we dominated with our ground game. The problem is, if you get stuck in a situation where you need to come back, the ground game might not be able to do it for you. On the receiving end, Kamara was the leader here with 6 catches, only 25 yards. I think that was the biggest difference here. Uh, it seemed like Dalton was a little slower to the decision making, and perhaps Cincinnati was just better in coverage. Without our top 3 receivers, we had to depend on the good old boys from last year. Traquan Smith, 3 catches, 48 yards, and a touchdown. He did not drop a pass this week. Juwan Johnson, 4 catches, 41 yards. Marcus Callaway, 3 catches, 36 yards. 2 of those come from Taysom Hill. But Callaway was targeted 7 times. And yeah, this was something that Dalton couldn't get right in the game. He wasn't completing the short passes. He wasn't dumping the ball off in a timely fashion. Ingram did have 1 catch for 11 yards out of the backfield. Kurtwood from the practice squad comes up and catches 1 for 14 yards. And Adam Troutman, who got hurt early in the game, he recovered a fumble on special teams and then had 1 catch for 8 yards before he left the game. He tried to return in the second half, but didn't work. Haven't had an injury update yet on Troutman. So overall, I think the offense did fine. We almost had 400 yards of total offense. We outgained the Bengals. We ran 71 plays to their 54. Everything seemed to be in our favor to win this game. Had the defense did their share. And now we're going to talk about those defensive stats. Demario Davis, 9 total tackles, 2 sacks. I said in the preview for this game that if we blitzed Davis, he would get there often. And I think most people's view on the situation was because we were depleted in the secondary, missing our top corner, Marshawn Lattimore, that we should not blitz and play coverage. Well, the Bengals had a good game plan. They were doing a lot of quick drop back throws from Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's biggest weakness is he holds on to the ball too long, and his offensive line isn't strong enough for that to happen. And the Bengals seem to have corrected that issue in this game. 3-step drop, quick throws. The slants were working all day long. They got into the red zone and scored touchdowns because we couldn't stop them between the 20s. It was constantly Tyler Boyd, slant, catch, second and short, third and short, whatever. T. Higgins, quick slant. I think Tyler Boyd is still catching quick slants as we speak. That was the part that was disheartening to me because it was happening over and over again, and it didn't matter which coverage we called, no one was making a play. Burrow was dumping it off to Mixon as well, and then he was getting good yardage. He scored a touchdown on a reception. And of course, Jamar Chase torched us with a big 60-yarder at the end of the game. He had 2 touchdowns total. about 70 yards receiving outside of that 60-yard catch. I think overall our game plan wasn't that bad. It's just that we allowed them to pick up everything. They were 6 of 10 on third down. So Davis had a good game, but he was out of position a few times, and he did miss a tackle or two. Chris Harris Jr., the cornerback, had 8 total tackles. Yes, he was having to play a lot, and he was picked on a lot because he's only been on the team 2 weeks, and he's an older veteran. Pete Werner had 6 tackles total. Marcus May had 4 total tackles. Cam Jordan had 3 tackles. Adebo had 3 tackles and a pass defended. Adebo had a much better game this week, but it wasn't great. Everyone got beat on those slants. Everyone. Harris several times. Adebo on the next play. Roby on the next play. Matthew had 3 tackles, but he was out of position on that last one. The chase, that was really a heartbreaker. Roby missed the tackle. Roby had 2 total tackles. He missed 3. So there's that. And Caden Ellis had 1 tackle, a sack. Great play by Ellis. We had 3 sacks total. The blitz seemed to be working. The defensive line was very hot and cold. We got pressure at times, but Burrow was getting rid of the ball quick. Overall, our defensive line should have dominated that offensive line, and we just simply didn't. Cam Jordan didn't dominate the way I thought he should have. And Marcus Davenport he's been healthy all year, and he hasn't been playing like he does when he misses 5, 6 games, but then comes back and has, 9 sacks in 11 games or whatever. He hasn't been doing much of anything. We need to see production from this defense. We need to see turnovers being forced. And a big complaint right now from a lot of the fans is you have a defensive coordinator as a head coach, and you have 2 defensive coordinators who are actually defensive coordinators. And the defense is underperforming right now, and you feel like, there's too many chefs in the kitchen. But I'm not sure if it's that. There does seem to be a lack of motivation. But that could very well be the fact that one of your captains, Jameis Winston's being held out, which could piss off some players. And another one of your great defensive voices, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, got traded for peanuts. That could have something to do with it. And it could also have something to do with that Dennis Allen looks like he can't really light a fire under anything. He just doesn't seem that motivational. Well, not all coaches are. Not all effective coaches are. Sean Payton had a way of making players respond. A lot of player veteran leadership. We have that on this team. But, if Jameis Winston's your captain and he's a motivational guy and everybody looks up to him and respects him, but then he goes out there and turns the ball over 5 times, then how much respect and leadership? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you go out there and you say you got to play great, and then you go out there and miss a tackle. Well, yeah, Tyrann Mathieu has a lot of experience in this league, and you'd be very wise to listen to him. But when he's going out there and missing tackles, I need to see a fire being lit under these players. I tend to want to blame the coaching at this point. It's been 6 weeks. Dennis Allen has been in this position before and failed. We're not seeing a spark. And the defense is the big failure of the last couple of weeks. Now, offensively, it was hot and cold because at the end of the game, when you're ahead 23-14, your defense allows another touchdown. We managed to go on another long drive and get a field goal. We're up 26-21, and our defense holds Cincinnati to a field goal. It's 26-24. We get the ball with 3 minutes and 40-something seconds left. And it's the same situation as last week. We can just run this clock out and win this game. At the very least, get in field goal range and add 3 more points to this. Force them to score a touchdown. But we can't even pick up a first down. And last week, It seemed automatic with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's not even out there. So this was my problem. To end the first half, the score was 17-14. Cincinnati had just scored a touchdown, make it 17-14. We get the ball. There's 5 minutes and 30 something seconds left in the first half, and we burn all of that. With 1 second left, we kick a field goal to go up 20-14 at halftime. Now, we closed out last week by running the ball and closing the game out on Seattle. And the first half of this game, we take the ball, a 14 play drive. We get all the way down there, burn the whole rest of the 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and we score points. Now, that's what you need to do. And felt like the play calling was why we didn't do it at the end of the game. You don't have Taysom Hill out there. You don't have Kamara out there. Well, on first down, you ran Kamara. On second down, you ran Kamara. On 3rd and 4, you do a pass play, and Kamara's not out there. Now, Taysom's not out there either. From where we were at, if we would have tried to go for it on 4th down and we wouldn't have made it, Cincinnati would have been in field goal range. They would have taken the lead with an easy field goal at that point. I can understand why you don't go for it on 4th down. And a lot of people think, perhaps, maybe you should have passed all 3 times. I'm thinking, let's run the clock out. So what's the most effective running plays? Taysom Hill and Kamara in the game at the same time seem to work pretty good. You have Kamara go one way, Taysom run the other way, or perhaps Taysom actually pitch it to Kamara, or you do some sort of motion with the quarterback and have him throw it. I can think of 4 plays with Taysom Hill and Kamara where we could have got a first down. I truly believe that was play calling that blew the game for us there at the end with the offense. How do you not have Taysom Hill in that moment? Andy Dalton's the guy I want under center. If you're going to game manage and you're going to try to lean on the defense and run the ball a lot with Kamara and Ingram, and you bring in Taysom Hill every now and then and you mix it up. But in a 4-minute drill, when you need to score to win, it's almost better to have James out there because he has such a big arm. And it's almost better to have Taysom out there because when Taysom's out there, the stuff seems to work. No one wants to do it full time, but in certain moments, you kind of have to lean on it, especially when he is your hot hand, and he has been. Another big disappointment in that final 4.5 and 5 minutes was the punt from Gillikin. Gillikin had 3 punts for the day, 2 of them for 123 yards, literally averaged over 60 yards a punt on those first 2. But when it mattered the most, on his 3rd punt, he shanks it for 26 yards. Cincinnati gets the ball at the 40-yard line. Now, I'm not ready to cut Gillikin just yet. The man is a very good punter. But in big moments so far this year, he's messed up. He shanked one last week as well. And but I gotta say, Will Lutz, you might be complaining we're only kicking field goals, but the man was 4 out of 4. And yeah, that's the way you do it. Rashid, the poor guy, could not return anything. Everything went over his head. He only had 1 kick return for 20 yards. It was covered pretty nicely. And the punt return was only for 6 yards. That was covered well as well. The only turnover, Cincinnati, their punt returner just drops the ball as he's running. Gives it up to us, and we score right away on that to take an early lead. Everything seemed to go our way in this game, except for that last 4.5 minutes. And it's a shame that our defense, we can't rely on them. They can't be perfect all the time, but they have to be very good for most of the time if this team's going to be successful. Now, we're 2-4 right now, and the percentages say we've got a 10% chance to make the playoffs. Well, our division right now is awful. The leader is Tampa Bay at 3-3, tied with Atlanta at 3-3. We are 2-4. We're literally 1 game out of the lead, 1.5 games since we lost to Tampa. But we have a chance to play both Atlanta and Tampa again. we still are in control of our postseason destinies, and we can win this division. An easy division to win. As far as, in my opinion, if we play up to our potential, and we haven't really done it. We've done it in spurts, but we haven't put it all together and done it. Overall, this was a good game, 30-26. Seems like a good contest. If this was a Super Bowl, it would be a real heartbreaker for you. And we're really a couple of plays away from being 4-2, and we're also a couple of plays away from being 0-6. But right now we're 2-4. Overall, not very well, but in this division, we can make some moves. But we have to put it all together, and we have to beat some fantastic teams, some great quarterbacks, some awesome wide receivers if we're going to do it. We have a short week this week. We play Arizona on Thursday night. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a review for that game or not. My next day off is going to be Thursday, and that'll be the day of the game. So subscribe to Rosenfield 10 anyway for a definite review of this Thursday night contest between the Saints and the Arizona Cardinals. And we'll see if we can keep pace in the lowly NFC South. I'm Joe. Thanks for watching. And until the next time, who dat?